real-time strategy games have always been a hit or miss in the gaming world, due not to graphics or plot, but how the game plays. Much like how a car handles will decide how good it is above its looks. If the game's UI feels smooth, crisp, and the units respond to minute commands, then the game has a great chance of being noticed, as opposed to the game that has amazing graphics, but bad UI. Very rarely do you find a creative game that straddles the line of well-developed and in need of work. Foresight, however, is one of those few. Developed by Strides Interactive and produced by KISS Ltd., Foresight aims to create an outside-of-the-box experience to traditional RTS gaming, and bring a completely unique style of mechanic to the gameplay. You play as John Locke, the budding young commander in the UNC, the armed forces defending Earth after a great exodus sent much of the population into exile, who must face the old foes and confront new ones along the way. As many heroes find out, however, the path to victory isn't the one you foresee, especially when there is betrayal mixed in. The story itself is enjoyable, though slow at its start, giving to long dialogues with very simple conclusions. Bring the prisoner back to base, sort of thing. The story is also depicted with still-frame cutscenes and overzealous voice acting. As a side note, however, the entirety of Strides Interactive's staff is Singaporean, and in an attempt to show their mettle, has kept all aspects of game development in Singaporean hands. So we will excuse a little overacting from the voice actors. Once you enter the game itself and begin your missions, which can be an added complication, which will be mentioned later, you become aware of why the game is called Foresight. Much like a chessboard must be seen as a series of moves, and a good chess player thinks multiple steps ahead, so too strategy in Foresight is based on projecting movements and tactics of your enemy and in making your own moves. The game is not turn-based, but with the added dynamic of multiple sectors of battle and the time needed to enter the wormhole to transit between sectors, you must plan not only on travel time within a given sector, but also jump time and sector's location. Foresight is made to force players to think far enough in advance to place the enemy in checkmate before even making the first attack run. Now this mechanic is clever, but it is also somewhat difficult to manage, making some fleet movements and organizations very cumbersome and frustrating. For a simple example, when selecting a fleet and toggling to the sector view, you may lose command of your fleet and simply move your view to that sector, forcing you to repeat the command till left and right clicking in the correct pattern. This could easily be changed by allowing groups selected to remain selected regardless of what sector is being clicked on. This same function and fixed situation can also be said for the minimap mechanic, where attempting to send a fleet to a location using the minimap only results in the fleet moving to where the minimap is physically located on your current view. Now the fleets themselves are a unique mechanic in and of themselves. Instead of having you, the player, in command of the whole fleet that spans over multiple sectors, you are instead able to command only fleets within a given sector or adjacent sectors. And even then, you can only build a set number of ships. To increase your fleet size and allow you to command fleets on all locations of the battlefield, you must assign fleet commanders and sub-commanders. These are AIs you recruit from your command center and are able to control smaller fleets than you, a smaller population as it were. But their involvement means you are able to increase your fleet size and reach by simply having them commanded by a subordinate. Again, while this mechanic is unique, it could also use some work, as the AIs aren't always the smartest and don't pilot their fleets the most strategically in battle, sometimes causing a ship to calmly fly right through the enemy base to a rally point in the middle of nowhere. Once you get the hang of the nuances, however, being able to create fleets and assign standing orders to them, you are given more freedom to literally command the fleets, commanding groups and flagships to individual missions and orders. without having to microships within the fleet themselves. This is the biggest part of Foresight's strategy, as your choice of the 3 races brings about completely unique styles of attack strategy. With such a difference in race design, it is impossible to play the game well with the same game plan for all 3 races. With one race being based on tanking up your forces and creating heavily armored battleships, another one focused on swarming and splash damage, and the third on constant movement and barraging, your strategies and foresight will need to fit your situation. Now again, this mechanic needs some polishing and fine-tuning, as it sometimes will backfire or be too cumbersome to perform the needed task without forgetting ships or sending them to the wrong place. As previously stated, the game needs some work, not only on the mechanics that are doing well, but even on the stability and the system requirements of the game itself. While most modern games released are a matter of plug and play, especially if purchasing through Steam, Foresight may require some system and game alterations for it to function. For my system, which can run other modern games with graphics set too high without breaking a sweat, Foresight would not load past the first splash screen, and after many attempts and changes, would finally load and play, but after 10 minutes of gameplay, would freeze and require a complete reinstall of the game to function again. Now this is said to be a first-time occurrence for that issue, and after some time speaking directly with the developers, who were very helpful and very intentional about their help, the game functions, though must be kept on its lowest graphical settings for smooth gameplay. All that being said, with some stability and system requirement changes, smoothing out of some mechanics such as mini-map movements, sector jumps, fleet commands, and unit explanations, and a few added mechanics for micromanaging ships within fleets, Foresight would be able to deliver an exciting and unique RTS experience. While Foresight has its quirks and is still being updated by the developers, it is a game we would recommend for the strategist and indie lover alike.